G'day, Andy from Single Malt. I'm going to do MiltonDuff today. MiltonDuff is a Speyside whiskey, so up in the sort of the northeastern part of Scotland, South Aberdeen, and it's the key whiskey producing region. Lots and lots of distilleries, nice and close together, and it really produces some really gorgeous whiskies. They tend to be predominantly driven by the barley character, so it's a really fertile area, so they grow a lot of barley in Speyside, and they don't use a lot of peat anymore. However, traditional Speysides did. These days it tends to be what differentiates the Speysides from the Island or Islay whiskies, but traditionally they would also use peat in Speyside, and the differentiator was the maritime or the seaside characters. So there was a saltiness in the whiskey or an iodine character that would carry through from when the barrels would age. So as the barrel aged and the angel's share was given up, that void space within the barrels was filled with sea air, and that sea air contained all sorts of lovely flavours that differentiated the Island and Islay whiskies from the Speyside whiskies. And the Speyside whiskies, rather than having that salty flavour, would allow the fruitiness of the barley to really come through, and as a result, the Speyside whiskies tended to have more fruitiness. Now, this is MiltonDuff. It's from the old Milton distillery that was established in 1824. It was established as a legal distillery in 1824, although it had been around for a couple of hundred years prior, or maybe more. But the Duff family actually got themselves a license and built a distillery on this site, and they called it Milton Family Duff Distillery. MiltonDuff! Great name, great idea. Who could have thought of that? Anyway, that carried on and was eventually bought by the Ballantine Whiskey Company, and you have probably heard of the Ballantine blended whiskey, and this, as well as another friend of mine, Glenbergie, a little whiskey from nearby that I really, really like, are sort of the two single malt components, two of the major single malt components. I'll never release their secret, that make up the Ballantine blended Scotch whisky. And the big differentiator between the Glenbergie and the MiltonDuff tends to be the use of first fill versus refill barrels. So MiltonDuff tends to use sherry butts, but we'll do them on the second fill. So that allows a lot more of the true spirit to come through. So as the whiskey's made, we have the foreshots, which are recycled back in, and the faints, which are disposed of, or maybe that's vice versa. And the cut is that fraction in between that's pure ethanol, but also a lot of lovely esters and other flavour carrying compounds that get caught in that cut. And this whiskey retains a lot of those flavours, and rather than masking that with lots of oak, their preference is to use second fill barrels to allow us to experience those fruity characters and that lovely raw spirit that comes through. There's still lots of lovely oak character as well, but at least that's my recollection, and it's been a while. It's been about 10 years since I've had this whiskey, so without further ado, let's crack it. What have I got here? Good McPhail, great folk. town of Elgin. If you ever get up there, go and have a look at the shop. It's enormous, and and if you're really lucky, you'll get a tour of the barrel room, which is incredible. They have some of the oldest whiskies in the world that are still called Scotch whiskies. I'll explain that in a minute. The Angels share, you lose about 0.5% of whiskey every year. So every whiskey is bottled at 63%. So if you lose 0.5% every year, after 46 years, you'd be down, 46 years, you'd be down to 40%. Now if you go below 40% alcohol by volume, you're no longer Scotch whiskey. So they have some barrels that are older than 46 years, so they've got 50-year-old whiskey still in the barrel, and they're maintaining their alcohol level above 40 degrees. Amazing place. Right, here's the MiltonDuff. Okay, so we've got an amber coloured liquid. It's I can already smell it. The barley sugar is really prominent. Beautiful, beautiful. Oh yes. It's actually a bit spicy. I'm getting crushed herbs, fresh herbs. Oh yeah. Usually I say vanilla, but I don't get any vanilla. I get these lovely, fresh, savoury herbs. Things like coriander, sage, tarragon. Beautiful. It's actually got a very savoury nose. Did you notice that I opened my mouth to get more air in and actually expose my taste buds to the aroma as well? Beautiful, beautiful. I mean, you don't really need to snort the crap out of whiskey like I'm doing, but I do it to get a little bit, to really look for those particular flavours. If I was drinking it to enjoy it, I'd be quite delicate. Well, there you go. It's a savoury whiskey, very savoury actually. Beautiful. It's hello. Here comes the sweet. Oh, lovely. That sherry really kicks in right at the end. So, and then you get the lovely estery finishes. Oh my goodness, this whiskey's got lots of layers. So you start off with this really, and then the savoury comes back. So you start off with this really nice herbal, florally whiskey at the start, and then you get this really nice punch of the sherry coming through, which is the dried fruits, and then the maltiness, and then it finishes with those lovely savoury characters again. And it's got a lovely finish. It's just keeping going and going and going. My goodness. Okay, this isn't how I remember it all. This is not driven by barley. Well, it is. It's good barley. But the thing about this whiskey, and I really like this whiskey because it's really a savoury whiskey. Beautiful, beautiful and herbaceous. Cracker.